What have I got today? I have a pecan Danish, which I'm very much looking forward to, and I have one of my lattes. So firstly, I must apologise for there not being a video last week. There was a short about, because there was a beautiful rainbow that I saw, and I showed you over the fields and my studio from outside, well, from upstairs actually. So I did have that, and thank you to the 500 plus viewers who saw it. I was staggered by that amount. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me again. For those of you who've been here before, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Deborah Carr. I'm a USA Today bestselling author of historical fiction. There's one there, and there's a few of the others there. And I also write as Georgina Troy. I write contemporary romance series as Georgina Troy. So today, after apologising for not being here last week, I'm afraid there was no video last week. I had a bout of shingles. I have had it before, so it wasn't as bad as my first time, but it still obviously sort of hits you a bit. So I had a couple of days off, and then I had to catch up because I have deadlines, looming deadlines. I did receive this in the post. This is, I had already bought a journal for myself for 2025, and I had thought these are quite expensive. It's not so much the planners. I mean, look how beautifully wrapped that is. I will do an unboxing for this next week. It's not that the planners are so expensive, but getting them to Jersey is an added £17+, which is shocking, but it came very, very quickly. And I have had one of these before. They're from Carrie & Co. So I know they're beautiful, and I know how much I love them. So again, I've given in this year, and that's going to be my planner for 2025. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit about what I'm working on at the moment. So I'm working on my 2025 book for HarperCollins for 2025. And this book is different. I've mentioned in earlier videos that this is different to my usual. It's historical fiction. It's my Deborah Carr book. And it is set during the Jersey occupation. It's set in 1940, well, it starts in 1943. But although I've written time slip books, so the Poppy Field was set 100 years apart. So it was set in 1918 and 2018 about two nurses dealing with patients suffering from traumatic injuries and how it affected them, but also they were connected by letters from the First World War. And I wrote also the Beekeepers' War, and that was set during two timelines as well. So that was set during the First World War, about two young nurses from Jersey who went to Dorset to work in a private hospital in this beautiful manor house, looking after wounded soldiers, and also set during at the beginning of the occupation of Jersey, just before the Nazis invaded and when they have invaded. And it's about those ladies then as well. And this pilot, Jack Garland, who I loved writing about. But this is different. This is set during two timelines, but it's time travel. Now, I've never written time travel before. So this book is set, as I said, in 1943, but it's also set in 1653. So what I didn't realise when I first started researching this book, because it's about witches, the working title is The Witch's Daughter. I don't know if it'll still be called that afterwards. But back in the 1650s, 1660s, Jersey and the Channel Islands as well were known as the witch hunting capital of Atlantic Europe. Now, I didn't know that at the time, but when you're researching a witch book, isn't that a gift? I mean, it's so exciting the things you discover that you didn't know about your own home. So it's set on the east of the island, so around Goree, because it's set, basically what it's about, there's three main characters in it. You have Xavier Givroy, which is a very old Jersey name that's died out as far as I'm aware. He is an ex-private and privateer as well, and he has been found guilty of treason. He is locked in a cell at Montorgueil Castle, so Goree Castle. We know it as Goree Castle. Its correct name is Montorgueil Castle, and that is a beautiful castle on this mound looming over Goree Pier, which is where I also set my Sunshine Island series that I write as Georgina Troy. So he is in a prison cell awaiting execution. one minute, the next minute he is standing in the same cell, but it's now in ruins, and there's a girl there who's wearing very strange fashion as far as he's concerned. Her dress comes just below her knee. Her hair is a strange style that he's not used to, and she doesn't know he's there. She's peering out of the door of this now ruin, and he discovers that she's hiding. She's been caught out after curfew. She's hiding from a Nazi patrol. Now, he has no idea what a Nazi patrol is, well, what Nazis are. He has no idea how he got there. She isn't sure, where he's come from. And his fashion is also very odd from what she's used to. And she decides she can't leave him, to basically be found and killed by the Nazi patrol. So she smuggles him home to her mother's cottage. Now, her mother, Connie, that young girl's name is Ivy Le Gros, and her mother is Connie Le Gros. Connie Le Gros is a witch. She's been a witch for 22 years. Her mother was a witch and her grandmother was a witch, and so on and so forth. And her daughter, Ivy, much to her upset and shock, is basically rebelling and is reluctant to become a witch. She does have a familiar because she inherited it from her grandmother. And I'll talk more about the familiars in another video. But so she's a bit upset by this. Connie also, she has her own little herb garden, and she makes up tinctures and lotions and potions, well, lotions, not potions, for the locals to help them with anything they might have wrong, any ailments. Her daughter, Ivy, does help with this. She helps source any like bits of bark or leaves or anything that her mother needs, any herbs or plants that her mother needs to make up these tinctures. But she just doesn't want to join the coven yet. She's 18, so she could have joined 2 years before. So there's that little bit of upset there. And now I obviously had to research witchcraft. I don't know anything about witchcraft. I don't know anything really about witches. I didn't realise until I researched that I've heard of Wicca and Wiccans, but that apparently was something that started in the 1930s and became more public in the 1950s. So clearly that's not going to fit my story. These ladies are traditional witches, so that is the witchcraft that they practice is basically comes from inherited spells, that they inherit from their ancestors. It originates from folklore, the local folklore, and they take advantage of weather systems, for example, and the seasons and the plants and things around them. So with all that in mind, I of course had to go and buy some books. Oh, these are some of them. Any excuse, I hear you say, and you will be correct, to be honest. This is gorgeous. This is a grimoire. So it's not natural grimoire, it's my grimoire. I have nothing in it yet. But I think I'll put the spells that I'm going to use in the book, maybe have them in this. Isn't that lovely? So I'm very excited to use that. So that's, excuse me, that's my grimoire. Beautiful leather, like hand-tooled leather book. I do have this book here. This is the Complete Grimoire by Lydia Pradas, who is the creator of Wiccan Tips, apparently. So this is magical practices and spells for awakening your inner witch. So it's just to give me an idea of spells. I'm obviously researching spells and basically to get my head a bit around this. You can see I've already got a few tabs in there, and that looks like a really interesting book. So I'll look forward to looking into that more. I also have my own, because Connie makes her own tinctures and home remedies, basically. So these are from my husband's little collection of, like, be your own garden doctor and be your own vegetable doctor. So little things, and home remedies for common ailments, little things like that to help. Oddly enough, this book is by Dr. D.G. Hussain. Now, I've been a member of the Romantic Novelists Association for many years, and I was a finalist in the Joan Hussain Award, and I believe it was this gentleman's wife that the award was set up in memory of. So it's a memory of Joan Hussein. And isn't that a coincidence? Isn't that weird? So yes, so I've got those from my own collection. This book, oh yes, and there's more. Natural Remedies. So these, another one from my own collection. And then we have, obviously, as I said, it's set around local folklore. So I bought this by Erin Michaels, Jersey Legends. And there's lots of folklore with fairies, dragons, witches, and werewolves and things like that. Basically, Jersey's legends. Jersey has an awful lot of legends. When I looked through it, I did actually know of all of them. I don't know, but I have heard of them all. I had a basic understanding of all of them. But this has stories around each one, and it was actually, I've read a couple of them. They're actually quite interesting. I did enjoy the book, so I will read the rest at some point. So this is by Erin Michaels. She, as I said, is a local author. And she writes, she talks a lot. I've seen that she's talked a lot at the Jersey Festival of Words, where I actually spoke this year as well. And I believe she did too. So that's book. We also have the Guide Dog for the Blind book sales, secondhand book sales here on the island, and raising money for the Guide Dogs for the Blind. It's a massive book sale every year, once a year, but then there's smaller book sales. And all the money goes to Guide Dogs for the Blind. And this is one of the books you can get a lot of out of print books. This is one. I have many down there, many over there. I have loads of, I go mad when I go. But this one has, like old maps and things like that. And this one's written in the 50s. And it just sort of helps you realise things that have changed. For example, in my book when it's like in the 1650s, I was having them going down, I thought I would take them down this one road. And then I realised from my Mrs. Boots research that, oh, hold on, that road didn't come into existence until the beginning of the 20th century. So clearly they had to find a different route. Another book is The Real Witches. This one is by Kate West, and it's an introduction to the craft. Again, as you can see, I've had a look through that. That's interesting. And then there's this one, The Witch's Book of Spells. This is by... Who is this by? Lindsay Squire and illustrated by Vicky Lester. This is a hardback, so I love a hardback. I love paperbacks. I love every book, as we know. Look at that. Some beautiful, there's one there. Let me get that. Lovely illustrations. Just to help me sort of get into the mindset of witches, of covens, of how people sort of go about their craft, that sort of thing. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'll be continuing to do for the next few weeks. Definitely, I have written the first draft, but I've had my structural edits back and know that I basically needed to have a bit more detail. So it's one thing researching, you've then got to decide how much detail you have in there, and clearly I had kept out too much. I need to put a little bit more depth in certain places in the book. So that's what this research again is helping me with. So that's what I'm doing. Now the characters, so a lot of my characters are just a few inspired by real people, or an amalgam of a couple of real people, like maybe their looks of one person or quirks from several others or something. I used to do that far more when I first started writing. Now I'm on my 30th book. I tend to, the characters come completely from my imagination. But this book, in this book, Xavier Givroy, the ex-pirate privateer who's been condemned to death, is actually, his look is inspired by, and forgive me for doing this, but I can't help myself, it's inspired by some really beautiful, sultry pictures of the actor Pedro Pascal. I shall link below if I can find a link to those pictures. Because I think he's just beautiful. I love that strong nose, his dark hair. I just think he's quite beautiful. Obviously, if you read this, you can come up with your own imagery of how this character looks. But in my head, that's who's inspired me for Xavier. So thank you for listening. I'm going to get on with my tea. No, it's not tea, my latte. It's getting a little bit cold now, so I might have to heat it up again. I hope you've enjoyed my chat, and if you haven't subscribed already, please feel free to subscribe below. I put up a video, I post a video once a week, and all that will do is put a little light next to my name in your subscriber list. so that you know there's a new video that you haven't seen yet. And I also try to do a short, which is just less than a minute, quick thing. So thank you for joining me, as I said, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great week.